Bookings Bootcamp webinar. Um, this is one of my favorite webinars to do because I'm one of the co-creators of the webinar with Judy Joel. So let's get started for Bookings Bootcamp. Just a couple of ground rules going into this though. This can be the Lisa Hendrickson webinar, or this can be a webinar where we all participate and we all engage. So I'm really hoping that you can feel free to ask questions or engage. So welcome again. I'm the Field Development Manager here in the Eastern region, and I'm really excited to be kicking off the webinar today. This is actually something that I think can be really fun if we are all ready for boot camp. So are you all ready for boot camp? Yeah. Ready. Okay. Hopefully you'll have all your fatigues on and you're ready, you got your boots on and you're ready to get some real exercise. So when we think of a boot camp, we think of something that is fast and furious, and that's what this boot camp is going to be like. So all good boot camps really start off with that boot camp cadence. So I'm going to show you the Pamper Chef cadence for the boot camp, and I'm actually going to say the cadence for you, and you can jump in if you see it on your screen and you want to say it along with me. We're going to do this cadence because I am not shy, and there's not too many things that embarrass me, so I'm going to go for it. So here's our Pamper Chef cadence, and it goes like this. At Pamper Chef, we love what we do. And the best part is you can do. Booking, recruiting is what we do. Our job's never done, so we book to. 4 shows a month and we're on our way. 8 shows make a big payday. Now I'm going to say sound off. Booking, sound off. Recruiting, sound off. We want success. I bet all of you want success. I know I want you to have success too. So let's make this fun. So here's our agenda. This is actually a 2-part booking boot camp. Part 1 today is lead generation and networking, and then part 2 of our boot camp is booking shows away from shows and booking shows at shows. You do not want to miss part 2 because I am going to share with you a brand new concept that we just really started in the past couple of weeks. So we've added just a real fun new concept to this. So if you've seen Booking Bootcamp in the past, you do not want to miss part 2. So I'm going to ask everybody just to mute their phones, press mute or press star 6 because I'm hearing some background noise, and we'll get started. So the first thing that we talk about whenever we are building our business, the first step that we need in even getting bookings on our calendar, everybody, is just to learn how to network. Because if you're not building your pipeline, you're not building your business. I'm just going to be as honest as that. It really is an important thing just to be growing that network. And we have a couple of goals when we network with other people. And that first goal of networking is to give every single person we meet, to get them really interested in knowing about us and the company that we represent, which in our case is the Pamper Chef. So you want to leave them really wanting to know more about us and more about the Pamper Chef. We also want them to learn a little bit more about what we do, learn a little bit more about the company that we're affiliated with, Pamper Chef. And then we want to give them a good feeling about us and the Pamper Chef. That's really important, that they leave feeling really good about us. Now, you all probably have experiences where you have been in a situation and you talked to someone. Maybe you went into a store, you talked to a sales clerk, and you left that whole experience not feeling very good about the sales clerk or even the store that you were in. Anybody can relate to that, I bet? Yeah, from the store, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, everybody can relate to that. So we want them to be like, oh my gosh, love that Pamper Chef, consultant. That company seems really intriguing. So those are the 3 key goals of networking. So here's the thing. The ultimate goal of networking is to expand your pipeline and develop leads that you can do business with. Now, everyone in front of you has a participant guide, I hope, that you printed out that you got earlier today. Did everybody get that document that I sent you earlier? This is how I got him to get one. Yep, I didn't get one. Okay, so I didn't see it. I printed it offline. Okay, so if you registered later this morning, yeah, you may not have it yet. So if you have maybe somebody that can quickly email, was it Helen and who else? Who else didn't get theirs? Okay, so I sent mine off of the Panther Check website. Is that one okay? You can print the one off the Panther Check website. It's not exactly like the one we're using for the webinar. Just because we have a couple. Yes. I was going to say, if they can type in their email address in your webinar thing in the chat, I'll go ahead and forward it to everybody that puts their email address in there. Thank you so much. So I'm going to open up my chat. So just type in your email address, and then I will have. Thank you so much for offering to do that. Okay, just and you will see that. Thank you. You'll just go into where it says questions. There's a little question keyboard, and then you'll see chat right below it, and you can type your message. So I appreciate that. And if for some reason you don't get it, and you have the one from Panther Check, you can use that one. But I'll get you the better copy. I'll resend it to everybody after the call. So here's the thing. That ultimate goal of networking is really to expand your pipeline, to have more and more people that you can do business with on a daily basis. Because we know that the care and feeding of your pipeline is just so important to growing your business, and that's really important. So I want to take a few minutes to really think about where you go on a regular basis. And some of you have done this activity before, but it's a great activity to really get you to think and expand your thought process on where you go every day. So if you look at page 3 of your participant guide, there is a little activity sheet where it's where can we network. What I'd like each of you to do for just a few quick minutes is to think about 10 places that you go on a regular basis where you meet other people. And that could be inside your show. So one of your places could be, hey, my show on Thursday. One of the places you go could be, you know what, I drop my kids off at school every day. Another place could be, well, I go to church every week. So I want you to take just a couple of minutes. I'm going to put the lines on silent for a minute while you actually complete that activity. Okay, everybody writing fast and furious all the way to the Pay Network? Is anybody struggling with coming up with 10 places? Yes, ma'am, I can with 10 more. So we have come up with 5. Okay, so we have a couple that are struggling. So here's what I want you to think about. Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you, you need to get out more. But that's really just more like a side joke. Seriously, let's really think about the types of things that you can do to really put yourself out there, to really find more of those connections. Because let me tell you, in every class that in every seminar that I teach, in every webinar class that I teach, we have some that struggle. And that's okay, because I'm glad you're calling it out there and you're being honest. But let's try to see if we can help you kind of get over that. So I want you to think about this. In your life, are you taking those opportunities to be present? So I want you to think about what types of things that you can do to become more present in your life, in your surroundings. You know, let's kind of throw out some ideas. How many of you are setting office hours outside your home? And this can be a really powerful thing, because when you think about it, you can say, you know what? I need to get out there more. I need to actually connect more with other people. And so what I think I'm going to do this week is on Tuesday and Thursday, every week from 10 to 12, I'm actually going to go to maybe my local Starbucks, and I'm going to set up shop, and I'm going to do some work at a table at a Starbucks. So in doing that, does anybody have any idea of what that's going to do? If I go into Starbucks every week on the same day at the same time and set up shop for an hour or two, what's going to happen? Anybody care to? Usually you're going to notice people. Someone's going to notice. Someone's going to notice. People. Do you see the same people? Absolutely, because we're all creatures of habit. We're all going to see the same people over and over. What else? So we put ourselves. The barista will know your name. The barista's going to know your name. Absolutely, that's definitely a good thing, because then she can start giving you discounts. I'm just kidding. But yeah, the barista knows your name. What else? What else happened? So you start making connections. You do start making connections, because you're going to a place that starts to feel familiar. When a place starts to feel familiar, you begin to get more confidence. Your confidence builds. You start to get to know people. Well, now I'm smiling at the lady with the red hair. She walks through the door every Thursday at 10 o'clock. Because now we kind of know each other. She's seen me, and I see her. Now, she may come over and ask me, gosh, I see you in here every week, and you've got like all this stuff set up. Are you studying for an exam? Nope. I'm actually running my own business. You get to meet different people that are outside of your normal activities, because what you're trying to do, everybody, is you're trying to look at places that you can go that step outside of your pond. Because we all can be the big fish in our small pond, but sometimes we have to get out of our pond and grow outside of that. And that can become sometimes difficult for some of us, because we think, what, I only have so many hours in a day. So office hours outside of your home can be really powerful. What about if I said to you all, are you driving through life or walking through life? Now, some of you have been through my trainings before, so you know exactly what I'm saying. So anybody that's been through it, you want to tell everybody what I'm saying when I say, are you driving through life or walking through life? Lisa, I'll share it. Teresa Tumber. Thanks, Teresa. Basically, if you're driving through life, you don't really have any, you don't know the people that you see regularly really well enough to, and I think your analogy that you gave as far as, somebody's funeral that you attended, I thought was phenomenal. Is that this person that you knew, there was hundreds of people at her funeral, and would that be the same for you? Do people know you, and do you know them well enough to have that connection? Do you know them more than their name? Do you know them more, do you know what their kids' names are, not just that they have kids? Do you know anything about them personally to make that connection more than just a face? So are you driving, or are you actually knowing more about what's going on in your surroundings in your life? Are you being an active participant in your life, or just kind of there? You got it, Teresa. You're spot on. So everybody, Teresa was absolutely accurate. Because think about this. When you drive through your life, you're not making active connections. When you walk through, because think about yourself. If you're going through a drive-through to everything that you do, and I don't mean necessarily literally. Sometimes you are literally driving through. I might drive through the McDonald's drive-through, or I'm driving through Starbucks. But that's a very, very quick connection with someone. We can also drive through our lives, just kind of hypothetically, in the fact that we really aren't paying attention to what's going on around us. And so when Teresa shares that analogy that I shared about one of my friends that passed away, what really struck me so amazing at her funeral was the fact that everyone that I talked to felt like they knew Mary personally. Everyone felt like they were her best friend. That was a brilliant, brilliant gift, because she was really connecting with those individuals in ways that most of us don't do. Most of us aren't having those conversations or those connections in such a way that person feels like they're truly connected to us. So are you taking the opportunity? So for those of you that say, you know what, I only have 5 activities on my weekly calendar. Excuse me. I only have 5 things that I do on a regular basis. But are you making the most of those 5 things? Are you buzzing through to go to the next thing? Excuse me, I'm going to clear my voice for a second. Sorry about that. Are you buzzing through life, or are you saying, you know what, I am actually going to be present. Because here's the thing, when you have this large network of people, you know a lot of people, but you don't know a lot of people. Think about that. Think about that. Do you really know those people? Do you really connect with them? Are you really taking the time to ask them a question? You know, I think of Sarah, my friend in the dry cleaner, that for years I only knew her first name and nothing about her except that she was the happiest person I've ever met. It took me really thinking about my own life and saying, you know what, how am I going to really start getting to know people? And I just simply said to her one day, you know, Sarah, you are the happiest person that I've ever met in my life, and I don't know anything about you. And that's how it all started. And we're friends today. So it's amazing what you can do. So setting those office hours, walking through your life, what other things do you all think that you can do to make more and deeper connections with other people? Anybody have any ideas?
Hey, Lisa, it's Christina.
Yes.
Hey, I love the idea that you talked about when you're in the grocery store and you kind of walk down the aisles with your head down and not really making any eye contact, or are you stopping and saying hello, or, you know, finding somebody buying the same thing as you and saying hello and starting up a conversation. I think that I find myself sometimes, and that's the biggest thing, I think, just running through the grocery store, getting what I need, doing self-checkout, not even talking to a clerk, and running out of the store. So I think that one is really big for me.
Thanks so much, Christina, for sharing that, because it really does. It makes an impact when, you know, because what happens, everybody, is when you do that in one aspect of your life, you will typically find that you do it in a lot more aspects than you think. You can even be doing it inside of your show. Maybe you're such a whirlwind at your show, so you're coming in, you're setting up, you're getting everything together, you're just maybe smiling at people, but that's about all. You may be missing opportunities to actually grow your network in your show. So I just want you to think about that. You know, when you think about that list of those 10 things that you're going to do, your goal is, in each of those 10 things, to find one person that you really don't know something about and find something out about them. So when you look at that list, when you look at that activity list, you want to say, okay, here's the 10 things that I'm going to do on a weekly basis. So I'll give you an example. Maybe that first thing is, you know what, I go to the soccer game. I see the lady with the bright red hair. I know her son plays on the team. We always wave, we smile, we're cordial, and that's it. I don't know her first name. I don't know anything about her. But my goal this week, gosh darn it, is I'm going to reach out to her, and I'm going to introduce myself as Tommy's mom, and I'm going to see where it leads me. So that's the goal of that list. You know, what am I doing each week? Who am I connecting with? And what am I finding out about them? What am I doing to make that connection deeper? So that's that activity. Because we know that people are going to do business with all of you when they can answer yes to these 3 questions. The first one is, can you help me? They're all asking, can you help me? Is there something you can do for me? And can I trust you? And did we make a connection or build a relationship? Those are the things that they're asking. And when they can answer yes to those 3 questions, then you've got them. They feel like, wow, there's something that they can do for me. Because I'm telling you, everybody, every single person that you meet, when you are in any kind of a situation, is thinking, what's in it for me? We do it consciously or unconsciously. What's in it for me? I'm hearing a little bit of background noise, so I'm going to ask once again just to press that star stick to that mute on your phone. Thank you. So we're just looking for that connection with every single person we meet. And this is on your participant guide on page 2. We know that the relationships that we build in this business are so critical because we're not just in the kitchen tool business. We are in the people business selling kitchen tools. And when we can all kind of get our heads around that and know that this business is so relational, it's going to take us to a whole different place. And when we build relationships, we want to think about this. How do we, when we network with other people, when we build relationships, what really is that first bridge? If I said to you, you know what, when I first come up and I approach someone, what's the first thing that you think helps them build that relationship when I approach someone? Anyone want to guess? I'm starting a networking with someone. I really want to build a relationship. I approach them. What do you think they're thinking? What do you think they're looking for?
What do you want?
Okay, what you want? They might be thinking, yeah, what does she want? It's a good point. I like that. What else?
What you can do for them.
What you can do for them, yeah. They're thinking, okay, what does she want? What can she do for me? And here's another thing. They're also thinking about what their first impression of you is. And really, it does have to do with those two things that were just mentioned. What do you want and what can you do for me? That's part of that first impression. That image and that first impression that they have of you is so critical to building that relationship. And then secondly, they're looking to say, okay, do I even have something in common with this person? Is this person even anybody that I really want to connect with? And in order to do that, I really need to have some kind of relationship, some kind of connection. So I want you to look at this next example. So look at these two images. And I want you to think of the images that we project. When you look at the picture on the right, what do you see from the guy that's kind of standing there in the middle in the dark suit? What does he look like to you?
He looks a little arrogant.
Looks a little arrogant. Looks like, I might not necessarily want to connect with him. Maybe he thinks he's got it all going on. So think about your body language, because it's not just the clothes you wear or the way your hair is styled. The body language is huge, everybody. How many times are you in the grocery store and you're just power shopping? You got your cart, you're looking down, you're focused on something, and you think about what that body language is. I used to actually have people come up to me in a grocery store and say, smile. I'd be like, what are they talking about? I'm in a great mood. But the reality was, I didn't look like I was in a great mood because I was so focused on what I was doing. When people start to say smile, you got to really think about what that's saying, So think about your body language. Look at all of these different diagrams of the people. Hey, this kid's got the sunglasses on, he's got his headphones on, he's totally disconnected. Those are the kinds of things that we want to be thinking about. Are you disconnecting for people? Or if you look at the image of the Tamper Chef consultant on your left, who's happy and smiling and she's participating, that's a whole different image that she's portraying. Because I want you to think about this. It might be interesting for you to know that others will make a judgment about you in 30 seconds or less. In 30 seconds or less, I'm going to surmise. Because didn't you all got a really good assessment of the guy in the suit in the middle, and that was probably in about 3 seconds. So in 30 seconds or less, they're going to decide everything about you, from your cultural background, your educational background, your ethics, your morals, whether they think they can trust you. And what happens is you spend the next part of the time with that person. So let's go to the show. I'm in the show. Someone makes an assessment of me. I'm going to spend the rest of the show either reinforcing their presumption of me or overcoming it. Does that make sense?
What if it's a positive image? What if they perceive you positively? We're not going to overcome.
That's a great point too. So here's something to think about too. So I can make a great first impression, right? But here's what happens with human nature. We are fickle. We fall in and out of love with people very quickly. You can make a great first impression, but then you can do something that just they go, oh, wasn't expecting that. And so it's really interesting. It's almost like we are on our best behavior at all times. Because I want you to think about this. If I make a bad first impression, I can overcome it. But if I make a good first impression, I can actually change their impression of me. So I want you to think about, in the course of your show, are you continually reinforcing that good first impression? If you're at the grocery store and you're smiling and are you continuing to reinforce that first impression? Now, some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, Lisa, that is such hard work. I don't always feel good. I'm not always in a great mood, right? But the reality is, think about the opportunities that you have when you really want to connect with people. In those moments, that's when you want that first impression to count. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Have you Have you ever been in a grocery store and the clerk has a bad day, and you leave going, oh, she may be the sweetest, nicest person in the whole world, right? But boy, did she turn you off. Now, the next time you go into that store, you're on your guard. You're looking for her because you know that she's not the person that you necessarily want to deal with. Now she has a great day. Well, now you're kind of like, well, now I've had a better experience of her. And now you're kind of thinking, but you may not be completely over that first experience. It may take you a visit or two or three to get back to that point where you think, okay, she's okay. So I want you to really think about that. It's interesting because a few months ago I was traveling. I came in I had been delayed at the airport trying to get home from the home office. It was super late, and I was not in a good mood. I was supposed to land at like 7 o'clock. I was landing at like after midnight, and I got my bag, and I was rushing to the elevator, and I just didn't want to see one more person. I was just over people and over the day. And there was people rushing to the elevator to try to get on, and I was quickly trying to shut the door because I didn't want them to get on. And I kind of gave like this, like how dare they? And I pushed the door, and when they pushed the button, the door opened again. And it happened to be my son's teacher from school. Of all the people in the world, and here I was with this, like nasty attitude, didn't want her on the elevator. And you want to talk about, we've all had bad days. But I really felt bad, and I thought, boy, I'm going to have to take some time to get her past that because she's probably thinking, wow, Austin Hendrickson's mom is, kind of a pain. So just want you to kind of keep thinking about that first impression. So on page 4 of your activity guide, I want you to take a minute or so to quickly write down the type of image that you think others see in you. And this is really anything from, hey, am I wearing logo wear? You know what? Do I have great body language? Am I a person that smiles to other people? Maybe I'm not. So just take a minute to do that. Okay, so I hope that you've all kind of given yourself your own private assessment. We're not going to share this because I think that we know sometimes what our areas of opportunity are. I know that I tend to be the type of person that gets very focused, and I can really give off some negative body language from time to time just simply because I'm in the moment and I'm focused. And so it's something that I try to be really cognizant of when I'm out and about. I try to put that smile on my face because most of the time I'm in a pretty good mood. So sometimes that mood is not conveyed to other people. So I try to say, you know what, I'm going to let my happy mood today really be conveyed to everybody that I meet. Sometimes it has to be a conscious decision because it doesn't necessarily come naturally for everybody. Or when you're in the throes of chaos, or maybe there's a busy day that you have, you kind of get consumed in that day and it can kind of take over. So just want you to think about that for a minute. The interesting thing is, we have that image, but then we also have something called common ground. And I love common ground because really it's as simple as finding something that you have in common. So in my example here, I use this all the time. It's like, oh my gosh, you have 2 eyes? I have 2 eyes. You have 2 arms? I have 2 arms. It's just really thinking about, what things you have in common. So what other examples can you think of to find common ground with someone? What are some of the things that you all do to find things out that you have in common with people?
I love your necklace.
I love your necklace. I love that one. That's a perfect one. And I love that too, Christina, because it's also a compliment. You kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's common ground because she likes it, but it's a compliment too. So you're paying a compliment and it's common ground because she probably likes it because she's wearing it. So it's great. Thanks for sharing that. Any other things that you do to find common ground?
Since I have been military, I always try to find out if they're also in the military, if they move a lot, and that's usually a huge click.
I love it. So you're looking to see if they're also in the military because you are. So my assumption is that you're probably asking questions to get there. Is that right?
Yeah. Get to know them better.
You're asking some questions to get to know them better. I love it. Love it. What else? What other things do you do? Anything else that you're doing?
I look at what they might be purchasing.
Ooh, I love that.
I might have an idea or a suggestion, or I might be interested in their item and ask them how they like it, a certain brand or something.
That's great. So you're looking at the things that they're putting down, the items that they're purchasing. That is great. Because now you don't necessarily have to ask questions. You can just draw the assumption from what they've got in the cart or what they put down on the counter. I love it. So here's what you can think of when you think of common ground. The first thing that you do is you pay a compliment. I love your necklace. And then you ask questions to find out those things that you have in common. Now, we start with a compliment because that's what helps us bring down the barriers. We'll talk about that in just a minute. When you pay somebody a compliment, they tend to think, okay, I might let them in for a minute and a half or a second and a half. Then we ask those questions. Now, at some point in asking questions, and this may not be in every conversation, you're going to say the magic words. Does anybody know what those magic words are?
Do you know about Pampered Jazz?
You got it. I'm with the Pampered Chest. Now, and again, don't rush the relationship. This may not be in every conversation, but you will say those magic words at some point, and that is going to help, bridge the network, bridge to your business. So on page 5 of your participant guide, we have a sample of the script because you all gave some great examples of how you all find common ground. But we give you some scripting and an example on page 5 so that you can actually use that in your business. Does anyone want to take a minute to read that for us?
I will.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susie, and I noticed that your son is having such a great game. My son loves being on the team with him. How long has he been playing soccer?
I love it. So I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to hold you right there for just a second. Because did you notice? Compliment. That's how she started off. She's having a great game. Okay, go ahead.
What grade is he in? I think they might be in the same class.
And now you're asking the question to find the common ground. So do you see how that all works, everyone? I love that. I love it because you're starting off with that compliment. You're saying some things that you love. It's great to be here. Your son is great at soccer. Because here's what you think about. When we find common ground, all the barriers disappear. And now we become closer and closer to the other person. So it gets to be an amazing thing. That wall comes down, and now we're connecting with each other. So think about that. The more things that you have in common with someone, the more barriers disappear. And I've seen so many hosts at shows, or guests at shows, they kind of bristle, with the consultant. But as soon as that consultant can find something in common with them, boy, that wall came down, and they got closer together. So now that you've identified the 10 places that you network and some of the ways that you can actually bridge those conversations, this is the goal. You put 10 mini catalogs into your bag on Sunday. And then your goal is to give them all away by Saturday. So you put 10 in the bag on Sunday, you give them away by Saturday, and 10 is always the minimum. We typically don't want to work to minimums most of the time because we really want to step up our business. So we may say, you know what, I'm going to go for 20 to 25 contacts. But your goal is, within those 10 places, as the conversations present themselves, that you're going to be handing out your mini catalogs. So tell me what the purpose, in doing that. What is the most important step? If I look at this rule of 10, you put the 10 mini catalogs in your bag on Sunday, you give them away by Saturday, you've given some. What is the most important part of this? Getting their contact info. You got it. You need to get their contact information. That is so important because if you're not getting the contact information, what are you doing?
You're hitting a dead end.
You are. You're hitting a roadblock. You know what? You're actually just giving away mini catalogs, hoping that somebody's going to bite. It's almost like, oh, if I give them away, they will come. Well, sometimes they will. I'm not going to say that they won't, in every situation. Sometimes somebody may call you. But for more often than not, they're not going to call you. So here's an example of what a contact your door price slip might look like. It could be a little sticky note that you have attached to your mini catalog so that you can get their information. And it really gives them a couple of different things. Here's what I want you to think about. As you're chatting with that particular person, in order to get them to fill this out, one of the things that you can do is when you give people a choice, they typically take one. So if someone was filling out the door price slip, I might simply say to them, hey, just jot down the best way to reach you. Telephone, cell phone, email, it's that easy. And they're typically going to write one of those things that I just told them in order to get a hold of them. And then, gosh, I'd love to be able, want to know how I can, maybe help you with Pamper Chef products. So they just fill the rest out, or help you with Pamper Chef. So they're just continuing to fill out the door price slip. Does that make sense? So on page 5 of your participant guide, we have some scripting. So I'd love for someone to read that if you could. Anyone?
Where do you want us to start?
Just where it says contact information, getting their contact information.
Okay, to get their contact information while connecting with common ground, remember you have 10 mini catalogs in tow. When the other person says, I love the Pampered Chef, you say, that's great to hear because I do too. Reach for your minis and hand her one and say, it's part of my job to give away 10 of these every week, and I'd love to give this one to you. Put the catalog door to the price slip and say, if you just take a minute to fill this out, I can give you a call back after you've had a chance to look at it. And while she's filling out the door price slip, you can continue to chat with her to build a relationship by asking more questions or simply by chatting about the environment you're in. When was the last time you were at a show? Do you have a consultant? What's your favorite product? Or, it was so great to get to know you a little better today. I can't wait to see you next week. Or maybe it will be so great to have someone to sit next to at the game. Or perhaps we can get our boy together sometime.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Because it can be really easy when you just say, it's just part of my job to do this, and I'd love to give this to you. And what that does is that makes them feel good. Like, wow, you really wanted to give one of these to me. I get 10 of these away every week, and I really want to give this one to you. I really want to put this in your hand. Now, the interesting thing is, on an average, 7 out of 10 people will actually fill out that door price slip. And I don't want you to get consumed about the ones who don't fill it out, because it's not about the ones who don't fill it out, it's about the ones who do. And if they're hesitant, this is what you want to say. You have your contact information on that mini catalog, so you're going to say, oh, my contact information is right there. So, you have mine, I'd like yours. So that way they feel like it's reciprocal. Or you might even say something like, you know what, I don't share your information, and that puts them at ease as well. And while they're filling out the door price slip, you want to continue to chat with them. And the reason that you do this is think about this next picture. If someone's filling something out and you're just looking over their shoulder, it feels very intimidating and kind of odd for them. But if you're just continuing the conversation and you're not hovering over them, you're just chatting away and, oh my gosh, it was so great to see you and this has been so much fun, they don't feel intimidated. They don't feel like they're giving something away, that they shouldn't be. And they don't feel uncomfortable. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Any comments? Anything that you want to share?
Can you go back 2 slides?
I sure can.
10 of the 7 of the 10?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. There you go.
Okay.
Because again, the best thing when they're hesitant, what I've always found is when someone's a little bit hesitant, I literally point out the fact that they've got my contact information. That typically my contact information's there, so you've got mine, and I'll get yours. And they don't even really think about it. It's almost just pointing out to them that they're getting something that you've already given them from you. Does that help?
Yeah.
And then, of course, not hovering, because hovering is uncomfortable for everybody. Any other questions or comments?
Lisa,
Yes.
sometimes I kind of make a joke and say something like, "Don't worry, I won't be stalking you. I don't have time to do that."
I love that. I love that. That's cute. And that, you know what? And that's a little joke. And that tends to put people at ease. I love that.
Yeah.
Great idea. Anyone else? Anything they do?
And Lisa, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm retired, so I don't have connections like I used to. And like all these people that have kids that go to sports and all that works out really good. Of course, I do like the Starbucks thing. I'm going to do that. But I mean, the only place, I mean, we walk the dog and I do pass out things there, and I've been doing the minis and I have them sign it and stuff. And some will, like you say, and some won't, you know. But I don't have a lot of places. I don't know, you know, to get new connections. That's my biggest problem. Not that I don't get them at shows too, but other than that, like you said, outside.
And I think that's a great point that you're making. So I'll share some ideas, and then there's probably somebody on the phone that's got some ideas as well. But one of the things, and throughout my career when I worked with individuals that retire and they say, you know, I don't do as many things. I'm not as fun as many people. I really go back to that office hours outside the home. You know, if you can find different places throughout the week. So Monday may be your Starbucks day. Tuesday may be the day that you go and you sit in the McDonald's and you have a Coke and you work on things. You know, Wednesday may be another day. It's really just putting yourself out there and stepping outside of the pond that you're typically in. And then, you know, when you walk the dogs, are you taking all the opportunities to really, you know, do it at peak times of the day where people may be outside, where you can actually strike up a conversation, and you've got your mini catalogs. Hey, I'm just out here and I'm just talking to people, and you know, think about, am I making the best of the opportunities that I have to connect with other people? Because I think we typically say, oh, I don't really get out as much. But what the reality is, we're really not making the connections that we possibly could make. Or we're not really saying, okay, I'm going to be really strategic about the times that I'm out of my house. You know, what can I get done? I need to get some things done. But can I stop somewhere for half an hour or 45 minutes and set up shop and make some calls? Or here's the thing, guys, too. Some of you that are saying, I don't have enough business to sit there. Let me tell you, many a time when I was in the field and I was setting up shop in Starbucks and I was acting like I was just working my business like crazy, I wasn't talking to anybody on that phone. It was all pretend. It was all pretend. And they didn't know that. And people would hear, I had the most amazing conversations with absolutely no one on the other line. So, interestingly enough, over time, people would come over and say, oh my gosh, what do you do? You're always on the phone. You're always helping and talking. Well, this is what I'm doing. You know, I have my own business. And so I want you to really think about, sometimes you have to think a little bit. So I hope that helps. Does anyone else have any ideas? Lisa, things that you do? Yeah, Amber. Yes, Teresa.
Two suggestions I would have for Helen, and Helen and I know one another too. So one would be that she find a park with a lot of parents with kids, and if nothing else, go out there with your catalog and learn the catalog a little more, and hold it up to where you're sitting near some moms and things. Because there's always moms that are out there, and if you go there regularly, moms will start to recognize you as well. Another thing would be to set up a table at least once a month, or if you can do more, anywhere you can set proper table up with your products is a great way to get your name out there.
What do you mean?
I love that. Table. You mean doing a vendor show or something? Or yeah, I mean, there's always places, like we have, I've heard on the peninsula over here, that Dress Barn will even let you put a table up and inside their store, and there's women coming in and out of there all the time. So, you know, there's things that you can do. It doesn't have to be at a vendor event. You know, you just have to be creative and think, where could I go and prop up a table somewhere? Okay. Never asked. I mean, never thought about that part. You know, asking a Dress Barn or something like that. Huh.
great.
Okay,
Yes, Christina.
To kind of piggyback on that, Teresa, I've actually set up tables at Origins. It's like a, skincare place at Home Center. I just set up a table in their front door. And then they always invite me back every fall when they introduce a new line. And then also we've done like Yankee Candle for their like new lines when they come out for Christmas. Different stores. But also my hair salon, they asked me to come on any random Saturday. They were like, whenever you want to just come and set up a table on a Saturday, you're more than welcome. Because you build that relationship with somebody and they know you and they trust you, and you're just gonna set up your table and maybe sell some stuff or take orders and book parties. But anywhere you can set a table, you just have to ask. Yeah.
And I think that's a great point, Christina. I know in Ohio, the Curves Fitness Centers, I don't know if you all have Curves there, but they will allow you to put a table if you're doing something healthy. You can sit outside and say, I'm promoting healthy recipes, or I'm sharing a healthy lifestyle with our products. So there's lots of different creative ways. I love the fact that you've all given some good ideas. And Helen, honestly, dogs are great. I mean, kids love dogs. Go to the park, where
I do that. That's what I do a lot in there, like Teresa said. I don't usually sit down with a book, but I go around and I go in and I have my menus with me and I talk to them. Now that I have done, and I do that a lot.
That's great.
But that's what's funny is Beth Jacobs is my upline, and she always used to tell me, even when her kids are grown and in college, she still goes to McDonald's and sits like in the play place area and drinks a soda and just makes phone calls and does some work. And I think it's genius because even people without kids like myself, I can go there and just sit and enjoy, I don't know, the screaming kids. I don't know, but she said she gets so much business just by wearing a t-shirt or something that.
I used to go to McDonald's play places and Chick-fil-A has the play places, and I did a lot of recruiting and a lot of business there. And I was wearing a business suit, and the moms were sitting there with their kids. A lot of times they're just looking for a distraction. Trust me, and if they can look through a catalog and you can have a conversation, it can be huge. So great ideas, everybody. Thanks so much. Any other questions or comments before we wrap up today's webinar?
I have a comment, I think.
I'd love to hear it.
I'm just being honest, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I feel like doing, and I know if our feelings are contrary to our goals, we have to overcome it, but that's hard. It is. I mean, going to the grocery store, I kind of like just going in and going out. So, any ideas of how to kind of overcome that?
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I was the same volition. And let me tell you what changed my mind. And I've shared this in some of the trainings that I've done. But I went and I saw a philanthropist speak in my hometown who was 97 years old. And he said it wasn't until he was 93 years old that he was present in his own life. And what was really interesting to me was he said what I shared earlier, that he knew a lot of people, but he didn't know a lot of people. And what resonated with me is I started looking at it from a standpoint of not really wanting to say, you know what, I just have to go out there and strike up conversations about the business. I looked at it to say, because that happened, and then I think I shared earlier in this conversation the funeral experience. I really started saying, am I making the most of my own life? And am I making the most of the opportunities that I have just to connect with people on any level? On any level, not just to say to build my business, just to say, gosh, if I was more present in my life, I would end up growing my network of friends, my network of acquaintances, the people that would lift me up when I needed it, and would my life be richer? So that's the standpoint that I took, and literally shared with my family that for 6 months, we were not going to drive through our lives. We were going to walk through our lives so that we could connect, because I started noticing that with my kids, they weren't conversational. They were wrapped up in media and technology, and I really wanted to look at life differently. And so that's the catalyst for me personally. And so maybe if it's just simply saying, in some of the activities I do each week, And my goal is to just be a little more present and see what the rewards are to me. And you kind of say, what's in it for me for a period of time? It's amazing the change that will happen. So I can share that with you. And I know that because for me, I was very much the power person. I would drive into my driveway. I didn't know any of my neighbors. My husband knew everybody. Because I was just the person, I need to get this done because I have limited amount of time at home with my family to move on to the next step. So I don't know if that helps you at all. You know, if you're, I just look at it from a point of just growing myself personally first.
And I think it helps too to, you kind of said it, to start the bite size instead of that's how I have to be now.
Yeah, you don't have to. You certainly don't have to go all in. I'm not asking you to jump off into the 12-foot deep end of the pool. It's really just saying, you know, what can I do maybe this week to be a little more present? What I found was it was life changing. I have friends now that I never would have had that had I not embarked upon this. It's almost like a journey, but it was so powerful that it really changed so many aspects of my life. And so if you think about it and just say, you know what, I just want to upgrade my quality of life. In some respects, it can be helpful. So I hope that gave you something to think about. And then there's the next thought is that, you know, you have opportunities to connect everywhere you go. And maybe your opportunities to connect, you're going to say, you know what, I have limited time, but when I'm in the throes of my show, I'm going to look at how I connect more fully within my show. And so in the next boot camp, we're really going to take a deep dive into how you all connect and book inside, you know, away from the show and at the show. The actual nuances in the way that you actually grow your business, doing some different things. I think one of the things that you're going to be really impacted by is a new concept that I'm going to share with you in 2 weeks about really connecting at the end of the show to really get somebody to look at how you do what you do and want to book that next show from you and want to perhaps look at the opportunity differently. So I encourage you all to be on that next boot camp or listen to it in replay. Any other questions before we wrap up?
Kathy, this is Susie. I don't have a question, but I always go back to my belief triangle, and I think that's really powerful, and maybe that would help the previous question. If you look at your actions or your feelings, and then go back further and figure out what belief are you believing. Is there a belief system there that is tweaked or that can be fixed or is incorrect, or maybe it's not based on truth, or I don't know. What is it? Our beliefs determine our actions, and our actions determine our results.
Absolutely. So you bring up a good point because, you know, if you, and from my own standpoint, I remember when I got called to make some calls for my son's class, and the teacher said, Lisa, you've got to make calls at night and see if they want to participate in the class party. And I thought to myself, this is what I said: no one likes to be called at night. No one likes to be called at night because when I come home, I don't particularly like to be called at night. So I took my own experience and I said, but then I knew I had to do it because she was counting on me, and that was how I get my community service hours for school. So, you know, with traveling all the time, I was stuck. I just had to do it. The interesting thing was when I started making the calls, I found out that people actually didn't mind being called at night. They wanted to talk to me. And so it was an interesting thing because my beliefs in my mind, you know, if I would have let that stop me, I would never have made those calls. In not making those calls, I wouldn't have gotten any results, which would then have reinforced my beliefs by saying, well, I didn't get any results, so that means nobody likes to be called. But in doing it, yeah, to your point, and just doing it, making those calls, and I found like, gosh, some of the parents actually like to talk at night. It really changed my belief triangle. So you brought up a great point. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so here's your call to action, everyone. 20 mini catalogs in the next 2 weeks. And that's really easy. It's just 10 mini catalogs per week by using that 10-10-10 list. did on the next webinar. I'd love to kick off the next webinar saying, how did you guys do? How did you do with this call to action? So your goal is over the next 2 weeks, because we're going to meet again 2 weeks from today, really getting those 10 mini catalogs out, and then just kind of reporting the results on the call, just some of your experiences, good, bad, and different. I don't care. We'll talk about it. So we're going to end part 1 of Bookings Bootcamp, and join me on our next call, which will be 2 weeks from today at noon. You'll get the registration information from that. You'll want to re-register for part 2, and I'll be sending it out to everybody on the attendee list. And feel free to share that registration link with anyone that you think should possibly benefit. Later today, I'll send out the replay information for those of you that want to listen to it in replay, and for everyone that couldn't make it that did register, along with the participant guide again. So thank you all so much for being on the call today. So appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedules to participate, and I really look forward to hearing, any experience that you have over the next couple of weeks with, your networking and connecting, and then looking forward to seeing you on our next call. So take care, everyone.